All right, let's dive into another one. Today, it's a chilling case, really. The disappearance of Elisa Lam. You guys have been asking about this one. And trust me, it's a deep rabbit hole. We're heading to the Cecil Hotel.
Oh, yeah, downtown LA.
Downtown LA, yep. And even before Elisa Lam got there, this place had a reputation.
Yeah, the Cecil Hotel, it's almost like a character itself in this story. I mean, even before Elisa Lam, you had Richard Ramirez,
The Night Stalker.
the Night Stalker, staying there during his spree in the 80s. And then, Jack Unterweger.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, the Austrian serial killer. He used the Cecil as like his base, early 90s. So this hotel's got a pretty dark past.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It's like something out of a horror movie. And that's where Elisa Lam comes in. 21 years old, student from Vancouver, Canada, traveling solo across the West Coast. January 2013. It was supposed to be an adventure,
Yeah.
just exploring the U.S.
Yeah. And it really makes you think about, solo travelers, especially young women,
Yeah,
and the dangers that are out there, even in seemingly ordinary places.
absolutely. So Elisa checks into the Cecil, January 26, 2013. And she's in a shared room. And some of the guests there reported that she was, acting a little strangely. Nothing that raised major concerns at the time, though.
Right, right. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
At the time, there was no indication that she was in any danger, really.
Right. But February 1st, 2013, things took a turn.
Yeah.
Elisa's parents, they hadn't heard from her. She's not answering calls. So they report her missing. And that's where the mystery starts. And then, of course, you have the elevator video.
Oh, yeah.
Super creepy. I'm sure you've seen it.
That video is really the crux of this whole mystery. It's grainy. It's creepy. It's the last known recording of Elisa Lam.
It is. So it's January 31st, 2013. She gets in the elevator alone, but her behavior is it's off. She's pushing all these buttons, peering out of the elevator like she's expecting someone, and then she ducks back in, hides in the corner, like she's trying to avoid something, but... Well,
It's like a silent film where you're just dying to know what's going on. Was she having like a delusion? Was there someone else in the elevator we can't see? Or was it something else entirely? It's a big part of what keeps people fascinated by this case.
definitely. So the LAPD, obviously, they start investigating. They've got dogs. They're searching her stuff, interviewing staff at the hotel, trying to piece together, what happened, where she went.
And you gotta imagine, the Cecil Hotel, it's old, it's got this long history. People are constantly coming and going, trying to get solid evidence there. It must have been really hard.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
A tough puzzle.
Then, February 19th, almost 3 weeks after she vanished, grim discovery. Guests had been complaining about the water.
The water!
Yeah,
What about it?
like a weird taste, a bad smell.
Oh, that's just sends chills down your spine, turning on the tap and not knowing what that is.
Yeah, exactly. And then, well, they find her body in one of the rooftop water tanks.
Oh, wow.
And of course, the question becomes, how did she even get up there?
That's a good question. It wouldn't have been easy to get to those tanks.
Not at all.
No.
And that's one of the most baffling parts of this whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. The roof, it was restricted. Those water tanks, they're large. They've got heavy lids. To move them from the inside, it would have been incredibly difficult. Makes you question the official findings.
It does. So what are the official findings? Well, the cause of death,
Yeah.
accidental drowning, no signs of trauma, no foul play. The autopsy, it did show that she had medication for bipolar disorder in her system. So maybe her mental health played a role.
Yeah, the official ruling, it seems simple, but it doesn't really answer everything, does it?
It really doesn't. It feels like we have an explanation, but not the whole story.
Yeah.
Which is, why people are still so fascinated by this case.
Yeah, we got to look at it from every angle, all the possibilities, try to make sense of it.
Exactly. So let's look at the main theories, the ones surrounding Elisa Lam's death, and see if we can get a clearer picture. Let's start with the theory that focuses on her mental health struggles. This one relies heavily on her bipolar disorder diagnosis and what we see in that elevator video. The disorientation, the way she's moving. Could she have been having a mental health crisis?
To really get this theory, you have to understand bipolar disorder. Extreme shifts in mood, energy levels, how active someone is. And during a manic or psychotic episode, someone might have delusions, hallucinations, paranoia. That could explain her actions in the elevator. Maybe she was reacting to things only she could see or hear.
It's a sad thought to think she might have been going through all that internally.
It is, and it shows how important it is to recognize and address mental health issues.
Okay.
There's also the medication thing. We know she was prescribed meds, but was she actually taking them regularly? If not, that can have a huge impact on someone's mental state,
Yeah.
Could have contributed to a crisis.
Yeah, that's something to think about. But mental health is a big factor. But some people point to something even more unsettling. The paranormal activity connected to the Cecil Hotel.
Oh, right. Yeah, the paranormal. With all the stuff that happened at the Cecil, the deaths, suicides, even the serial killers, it's easy to see why some people jump to that conclusion. And that elevator footage with her strange behavior, it's like something straight out of a horror movie.
It is. The hotel's past definitely makes those paranormal theories seem pretty convincing.
Right.
But we still have to be skeptical, right?
Definitely. It's interesting, but we have to base our analysis on facts. Can't ignore the possibility of more, earthly explanations.
I agree. But even setting aside the paranormal stuff, the idea of foul play is still there. Even with no direct evidence to support it, we still got to ask, how did she get into that water tank? Could someone have been involved?
It's hard to ignore that theory, yeah. The circumstances are suspicious. The autopsy didn't show signs of a struggle, but we can't totally rule out a staged scene or, a struggle that they just didn't detect. It's also possible that she ran into someone who meant to do her harm while she was at the Cecil.
It's a disturbing thought.
Yeah.
But it's something the investigators would have looked at. So we have these three main theories, each with its own complications, its own limitations. So where do we go from here?
Well, I think we have to look closer at the investigation itself. Were there things they missed? What about the physical evidence they found? And maybe most important, can we figure out what Elisa's state of mind was like in those last few days before she disappeared? Answering those questions might get us closer to the truth about what happened to Elisa Lam.
Yeah, let's dive deeper into how they investigated this, see if there are any clues about those last few days.
Okay, sounds good. So what about the methods they used? What can you tell us about that? Oh man, the LAPD had a tough job. The Cecil Hotel, it's, people coming and going all the time, layout's a maze, getting good evidence there. Super difficult.
Yeah, you can imagine.
They used a bunch of stuff, though. Dogs to sniff her out, you know? They went through all her things looking for, clues about what she was planning, how she was feeling. And interviews, of course. Staff, guests, anyone who might have seen her.
It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, what about physical evidence? Anything at the scene that could tell us what happened?
So that rooftop water tank, that was a problem in itself. Processing a crime scene in a place like that, confined, unusual, not easy.
Yeah, I get it.
They looked at the tank for signs of, forced entry, the area around it, footprints, anything like that. But, time had passed, weather, all that. The evidence could have been messed up pretty bad.
Makes sense. So the environment itself was working against them.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. But even with that, did anything stand out to them? Any clues about how she got into that tank?
One of the biggest mysteries is exactly that. How did she get up to the roof and then into the tank? The roof door had an alarm, but it didn't go off when she supposedly went missing. So either it wasn't working right or she got past it somehow.
Like a mystery novel.
Yeah.
A locked door, a missing person, no way in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Makes your mind go crazy with possibilities.
It does.
Did they think maybe someone helped her get up there?
Oh, yeah, they looked into that for sure. But there's no evidence of anyone else, no one on the roof with her. Security footage doesn't show anyone going up or down around that time.
So no one else. That leaves the question of how she got up there and into that tank by herself.
Right.
Did they have any theories about that?
There were a few. Maybe she found a way to, trick the security, propping open a fire escape or a weak spot in the fence around the roof, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Or maybe she used a ladder to get to the tank, but they never found a ladder or anything like that.
It's really a puzzle. Feels like we're missing a big piece.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about her mental state before she disappeared? Anything in her behavior, anything she said to people that could tell us what happened?
So they looked into that, went online, checked her blog posts, messages to family and friends, looking for signs that she was upset, acting weird, anything that said, hey, this girl's having a mental breakdown.
Like a digital detective, right?
Exactly. Find anything.
Yeah, actually. Her blog posts, they were often about, feeling alone, anxious, not connected to the world. She wrote a lot about her mental health struggles, feeling overwhelmed by everything.
It's almost like she was trying to tell us something, leaving clues.
Maybe. And her messages to people, they were normal at first, during the trip. But as it went on, they got stranger. Didn't make much sense, not like her usual self.
Oh, wow. That's a big warning sign. It seems like everything, her online stuff, talking to her family and friends, it all points to her struggling. But how do we connect that back to what happened at the Cecil? It's tough. Mental health, it's complicated. Bipolar disorder especially. The symptoms can be all over the place. Everyone's different. Her online stuff, her messages, they suggest she was having a hard time. But it's impossible to say for sure if that's what led to her death.
I see. So many possibilities, not many answers.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about what she did at the hotel itself. Anything we can learn from how she acted in those last few days?
So, people at the hotel, staff, and guests, they said she was acting weird. Withdrawn, confused, talking to herself, like that. One guest even saw her wandering the halls in the middle of the night.
That's unsettling. Fits with the idea that she was having a mental break. But I keep coming back to that elevator video. It's just so strange, so specific. Can we look at that closer? Her movements, her expressions, could that tell us what she was thinking or feeling?
Oh yeah, that video has been analyzed like crazy. Tons of interpretations. Some experts, the body language people, they say she might have been scared, paranoid. Others think she was hallucinating, seeing things.
Trying to crack a code, right? Looking for meaning in every little thing.
Pretty much.
Okay, so what about the things she actually does? Pushing the buttons over and over, looking out the door, hiding in the corner. Do those things mean anything?
Let's break it down. The buttons, maybe she was agitated, confused, like she didn't know where she was going or how to get there. Looking out the door, maybe paranoia, thinking someone was after her. Hiding, maybe she felt vulnerable, didn't want to be seen.
Like she's in her own world, full of threats and confusing stuff. Scared to think about. And it brings us back to her mental state. Could all that in the elevator be explained by a psychotic episode?
Well, during a psychotic episode, people can have hallucinations, delusions, their thoughts are jumbled, they act strange, they see things wrong, misinterpret what's happening, react in ways that don't make sense to anyone else. It's possible that's what was happening with Elisa. Her mental health, the stress of being somewhere new, all of it mixed together.
It's a heartbreaking thought, but we have to consider it. So we've got all these pieces. Her mental health history, those online posts, how she was acting at the hotel, that elevator footage. How do we make sense of it all? What happened to Elisa Lam?
It's tough, but let's try to put it together. She was struggling, that much we know. And it seemed to get worse right before she vanished. She was acting weird, stuff that could point to psychosis. And the elevator, she seems confused, scared, not seeing things clearly. It's a story full of shadows, full of things we don't know. But we're not done yet. We still have to look at the official ruling and whether her death really was an accident.
So we've looked at a lot of possibilities. But the official ruling, accidental drowning, that keeps coming up. Does that fit with everything we've talked about?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? The autopsy, it seems pretty clear. No injuries, no signs of a struggle. She ended up in the water tank and drowned. Tragic accident. But a lot of people just aren't convinced.
I can see why. All the unanswered questions, her behavior, how hard it was to get up to that roof, into that tank. It feels like, I don't know, like there's more to it.
Yeah, and that's where the other theories come in. We talked about the paranormal stuff, which, it's interesting, but got to be realistic. And then there's the idea that someone hurt her. Foul play. Maybe made it look like an accident.
Right, foul play. It always seems possible in cases like this. But is there actually any evidence for that?
That's the problem with that theory. No evidence. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but, we have to stick to the facts. They investigated everything, looking for signs of someone else being involved. Nothing.
So if we're being objective, we have to say there's no proof of foul play. But what about suicide?
They thought about that too, especially with her mental health history. But the autopsy didn't show anything that usually points to suicide.
It's complicated. No easy answers. We have the official ruling, but it doesn't explain everything. It feels like we might never know for sure what happened.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. Not every mystery gets solved. Sometimes, you just have to be open-minded, look at the evidence, and decide for yourself based on what you know.
That's a good point. But beyond all the theories, all the guessing, what can we learn from this case?
Yeah.
From what happened to Elisa Lam?
Well, I think it shows us how important mental health is, and that we need to do a better job of helping people who are struggling. Elisa, from what she wrote online, how she was acting, it seems like she was having a mental health crisis. We need to pay attention to the warning signs and get help when we need it.
Yeah, we all need to support each other.
Right. And this case also shows how we need to be responsible online. After she disappeared, the internet just blew up. Rumors, people blaming each other, even harassing people who had nothing to do with it. It's important to remember these are real people, real lives affected. We need to be empathetic, respectful, and stick to the facts.
The internet can be great for sharing information, but it can also be a place for harmful stuff. You've got to be careful.
Absolutely. And lastly, I think this case tells us to, be curious, but also humble. It's natural to want to solve a mystery, but we also got to admit that we don't know everything. We might never know exactly what happened to Elisa Lam, and that's okay. Sometimes learning to live with the unknown, that's the most important lesson.
Wow, that's really something to think about. There are things we'll never fully understand, and that's part of what makes life, well, life. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Elisa Lam case, any final thoughts for our listener?
I'd say keep looking into it. Read about it, think about the evidence, the theories, decide for yourself what you believe happened. It's a story that stays with you, makes you think about how precious life is, how complicated mental health is, and how powerful a mystery can be.
Well said. And for Elisa, the best thing we can do is remember her, not as a victim, not as a mystery, but as a person. A young woman, like all of us, who's just trying to find her place in the world. Even though her journey ended tragically, her story makes us think, makes us talk, and makes us want to understand the things we don't know.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. It honors her memory without all the speculation, the hype. In the end, it's a human story, and it deserves to be told with kindness and compassion.
And on that note, we'll leave you to think about everything we've talked about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And like always, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep searching for the truth wherever it takes you.